So there's a lot of confusion surrounding the numbers of casualties in the Israel-Hamas war. How many Palestinians have been killed? Were they militant fighters or innocent civilians? How many IDF soldiers have been killed, and how many Israelis were killed on October 7th? So let's try to make some sense out of all this. In the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian Health Ministry reports that as of the end of February, 30,139 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began. Some people have cast doubt on these figures since the ministry is part of the Hamas government. However, historically, the Palestinian Health Ministry, that is part of the Hamas government, has been fairly accurate. Importantly, however, the Palestinian Health Ministry does not distinguish between Palestinian civilians and Palestinian militants, i.e. between innocent civilians that are killed in the war and the fighters of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and other violent actors. So while the death toll of over 30,000 may be accurate, how many of these were part of fighting terror organizations? The Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, has not reported the total number of Palestinians that the military estimates were killed in the Gaza Strip. However, it has stated that intelligence shows that between 12,000 and 13,000 fighters belonging to Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad have been killed. So just important to note, how do each of these bodies calculate their figures? The Palestinian Health Ministry in the Gaza Strip counts up the bodies that are brought to the hospitals in the Gaza Strip. That means that their figure does not include people that are buried under the rubble, estimated at 7,000 to 8,000. The IDF relies on intelligence and reports from its ground forces to estimate how many terrorists were killed in the Gaza Strip. Thus, if we accept the numbers that are coming out from both sides, and this still has to be done cautiously with regards to both sides, the current figures would tell us that there are roughly 30,000 Palestinians that have been killed since the war began, out of which between 12,000 and 13,000 were Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives involved in the fighting. It's also important to note that this only relates to the Gaza Strip, not the ongoing violence in the West Bank and elsewhere. Meanwhile, the figures on the Israeli side. In the October 7th attack, it was initially reported that 1,400 people were killed. However, the official numbers in Israel have since updated, stating that 1,145 people were killed. There are a few things to understand about this figure. First, the reason that the numbers went down is because initially 1,400 bodies were found in the areas of the attack. However, it later became apparent that at least 200 of these were bodies of attackers from Hamas and other factions. Thus, the number of victims was updated to 1,145. The figure also includes both IDF soldiers and civilians who were killed in the attack. According to estimates, out of the 1,145, 294 were IDF soldiers and 851 were civilians. This number includes those people who were killed on October 7th and their bodies were found. That means that it does not include hostages that were kidnapped that day and were killed in the Gaza Strip, or people that were killed, but however their body was kidnapped back to the Gaza Strip, or missing people who are possibly presumed dead but they're not tallied up in this figure. In the fighting in the Gaza Strip since October 7th, another 242 IDF soldiers have been killed. It's also important to note that, like on the Palestinian side, these figures only relate to the ongoing fighting in the Gaza Strip and not ongoing fighting in the West Bank or the northern parts of Israel, southern parts of Lebanon. Finally, relating to hostages, a total of 253 people were kidnapped from Israel on October 7th, including soldiers, Israeli and non-Israeli civilians. Of them, 4 were released by the organizations in October, 105 were released in a hostage exchange between the sides at the end of November, and 3 were rescued by the IDF. 11 bodies were also retrieved by the IDF in the Gaza Strip. In addition, 4 Israelis that were held by Hamas prior to the war are also currently still held by the organizations, leaving the current number of hostages that are being negotiated at 134. Of these, 32 have been declared dead by the IDF and that their bodies are held in the Gaza Strip. Some estimates have suggested that the IDF believes that 20 more may be dead. If you want to know more information about the Israel-Hamas war, check out my channel. I'm Alon Burstein. I upload daily summaries of what's happening in the war, as well as news items and other reports. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.